The latest tech.
I'm Alexa. I can answer your questions.
Interviews.
And we are evolving, and we are seeing an amazing opportunity that's happening.
Accessibility.
Accessibility is one of our core values. It's even a part of our mission statements.
This is DoubleTap TV Town Hall.
Welcome and thank you guys so much for being here on this very special edition of DoubleTap TV, a Town Hall edition of DoubleTap TV. For the next hour, you'll be spending your time with not only myself, but with Stephen Scott and a very special guest tackling an interesting topic that we're calling influencer culture or content creation. By my side, Stephen Scott is every single week on DoubleTap TV and these DoubleTap TV Town Halls. Stephen, the word influencer, the word content creator, I mean, this is a made-up term that we've seen only in the past, what, 5, 6, 7 years. The names that I could think of that really coined the terms are people like Casey Neistat, Marques Brownlee in the tech world, guys like Linus Sebastian for Linus Tech Tips, Unbox Therapy. I mean, there are so many out there, and do we count ourselves as one of those, or do we have to have a YouTube channel for that to happen?
I've honestly no idea. I'm always amazed when people talk about influencer culture, who classes as what, and is it just an online social media thing, or is it what we do on TV? I honestly don't know. I think we probably fall into that category to some degree. I certainly know from my own career doing this that, when I talk about product, people clearly listen and they take interest in it. I have to be very careful about it. I'm always very responsible about it because I'm aware that people might buy a product based on something I've said, and if they don't like the product, it's usually my fault. So it's like blame Logitech if you don't like the keyboard, right? Don't blame me, but people do, and that's the end of it. So you have to be very careful about what you're saying, and I guess in a way, for me, what's happened is I've kind of realized the value in the words we speak. They hold a lot more weight than perhaps I realized, and I think that's certainly the case. That is definitely the case for these influencers.
Yeah, the one story that got me, which is why we kind of came up with this topic, was there's a YouTuber, a content creator that we're both fans of, and that's Marques Brownlee. He's an incredible tech journalist, really. He's a young kid. He started off really, really young with just a camcorder. And there was a story about a year ago when iOS 14 first came out. Apple gave us the option of changing our icons on our home screen. And this random guy created this icon pack that was really cool. And Marques, in talking about iOS 14, talked about this guy and gave him a plug. It wasn't a paid-for sponsorship. It wasn't anything. And overnight, that guy made close to $300,000 in people buying this $14 purchase. So, when you use that word influencer, you have to really be careful about how you use it, because that's a perfect example of someone who has enough clout to influence someone's purchasing decision. And if any brand wants to reach an audience, they look at an example like that and they know immediately that's a person you want to engage to try and sell your content. So that's the premise for where this show came to be. I thought of that story and I said instantly, we got to really tackle this, because there are people out there who are trying to get on YouTube, trying to get into social media and want to make a living out of it. My son's one of those kids. He's 11 years old and he wants a YouTube channel. He wants to do all this stuff. And there's this fine line between how do you protect your children? How do you protect the youth of this day and create great content? What's your feeling on all of that?
Well, it always fascinates me when I think about, and this isn't my line at all. Someone else mentioned this in passing in a conversation I was listening to once on a podcast. Someone was talking about creating a new podcast. Now, you could rip out podcast and have YouTube channel or, Instagram or Twitch channel or whatever it might be. And they said, nobody ever says, why are you writing another book? Why are you writing another book? There's already loads of books. There's millions of books. Why write another one? Nobody says that about books. But they do say it about social media channels. They do say it about podcasts, everything else. It's always, well, why make another one? There's already loads out there. And the reality is that there could be an area that perhaps you can get into that will attract people. The problem, I think, is that a lot of people try to go down the same route others travel. Now, we, of course, live in the tech world. We see lots and lots of people talking about technology. I think we bring something very different to the table because we talk about accessibility. We focus in on the accessibility of the products and try and showcase that to as wide an audience as possible. Not just the people who actually need the technology every day, but those who can actually benefit from it at some point, either temporarily in their lives, because for whatever reason someone may break an arm or hurt themselves in some way, so they need to use accessibility in some way, or perhaps they just need access to a very simple feature they didn't even know was there under this thing called accessibility. So I think for me it's about saying, if you have something you want to say, go for it, try it. There's no harm in it. I mean, I think it's interesting when you talk about your kids, because obviously there's an age issue there, and you have parental responsibilities deciding whether or not you want your kids to be into this world, knowing what may come out of it. It's a very difficult decision, especially for parents. But if you're an adult and you're looking to get into this, why not try it? What's the worst that can happen? In worst case scenario, deactivate the account and go back to your normal life. It's a case of, I think, just try it, but obviously be sensible about it.
Well, if you follow all our social media, Double Tap Canada on Twitter, doubletap.online on Instagram, and of course, if you've emailed us feedback at AMI.CA, then you know that our next guest is definitely a content creator, an extremely influential person, a homegrown Canadian, a very smart young lady. Her name is Molly Burke, and when we come back after a quick break, we're going to dive into your questions. You guys have asked a lot of questions that we're going to pose to Molly, so we're going to give you that opportunity to get those answers. It is a town hall edition of Double Tap TV. He is Stephen Scott. I am Mark AFLALO. We'll be back with Molly in just a moment.
Double Tap TV's Town Hall will be right back. This is Double Tap TV Town Hall.
We are back on this Town Hall edition of Double Tap TV, inviting you guys to get involved. As always, it's feedback at AMI.CA. And you better be following us on Twitter. It is at Double Tap Canada. And now we are on Instagram at doubletap.online. What an achievement, Stephen. I am Mark AFLALO with Stephen Scott by my side. Stephen, we've got a special guest joining the show.
Yes, indeed we do, Mark. And you asked some pretty good questions before we went to break, and our next guest may just have the expertise to answer them, or surely the experience to tell us about her journey thus far. She is a YouTuber, she's a motivational speaker, she's a model. She is Molly Burke, and she joins us now. Hello, Molly.
Hi, thank you guys. What a warm welcome.
Well, thank you guys for being with us. I can't think of a better person to field a lot of these questions about this, because you've lived this life and you continue to live it, not only as a successful YouTuber and influencer, but someone who's blind as well. And your perspective must be super niche, right?
It's definitely unique. I mean, when I started working in the social media space almost 7 years ago, there wasn't really a huge disability community on the internet in terms of content creation. And so it's been fun to see the community grow over these 7 years. And I love looking at where it is today and seeing so many people with all types of disabilities creating content and doing it as a job, making a living doing it, and breaking barriers, breaking misconceptions, educating along the way. It's amazing.
Molly, is the term YouTuber, do you find it offensive or inaccurate? Or how would you describe yourself and what you do day in and day out?
For years and years and years, I just referred to myself as a YouTuber, but at this point, I do so much content outside of YouTube. Half the brands I work with don't even want YouTube content. They want my TikTok content or Instagram or a combination of both, or Facebook or whatever. So at this point, YouTuber is certainly not offensive, but it doesn't feel like maybe correct anymore the way it used to. I would say now more like digital content creator. I would say within the industry, the term that would be considered offensive to creators is the word influencer, because it almost diminishes what we do to simply how we convince people to buy something or convince people to do something. It takes away the creative aspect of what we're doing. It takes away the art form of what we do, and it reduces us to just the influence we hold over people, which is not necessarily what most of us find important about what we do.
That's honestly a very interesting perspective, because unless that comes from the mouth of someone who does what you do day in and day out, you wouldn't have thought that, because people throw around that term really easily.
Totally, exactly. A lot of us would prefer the term content creator. It would be usually in the industry what most of us would refer to ourselves as.
I think we need to coin something completely new instead of all of this, to find something that's completely niche. Earlier this week, we tweeted out that you'd be joining us. So needless to say, when your name pops up in our feed or anyone else's feed for that matter, we get a lot of traction. And that's part of the big picture here, is generating a following and that react to when you do things. So this question comes in from Jamie in Ajax, Ontario. And the question is, what is your story, Molly? What exactly was your first experience interacting with social media? Was there something in particular that piqued your interest or curiosity that led you down this path?
Absolutely. So when I lost the majority of my vision at 14 to retinitis pigmentosa, I also lost all of my friends, and I'm a very bubbly, outgoing, extroverted person. So losing my group of friends was really difficult for me. And not only did I lose them as friends, but I started being bullied by them. So it was a really, really rough time. I struggled a lot with situational depression and just felt very isolated and alone. And I no longer had girls to go shopping with on the weekends or have sleepovers with. And that's kind of when I found the internet. It was around 2008, 2009. So right as YouTube and social media in general was starting to get a bit more traction, and I really at first found like cat videos, as we all do, and like YouTube music covers because I love to sing, so I'd watch singing covers. And then slowly I just kind of found more and more and more to YouTube, and I found the beauty and lifestyle community. And for me at that time, I've always loved makeup, I've always loved fashion. And at the age 14, 15, that's really when you're kind of starting to define your own style and make your own choices. And, you're starting to play with makeup more and all of these things. And so as I started wanting to do those things but didn't have friends to do it with, I found these girls on YouTube. And they were all around my age, 13, 14, 15, talking about the things that I was interested in, doing 5 lipsticks from MAC Cosmetics that are great for fair skin, or all these different things that were perfect for me because I couldn't go to MAC and swatch lipstick on my skin tone anymore and see it. I couldn't, go shopping and look in the store windows at mannequins to see what was cool. So I would listen to these girls talk about it, and they felt like my friends. They felt like my big sister. They felt like they were a real fixture in my life, even though they didn't know that I existed. And I thought that was incredible, that you could provide friendship to somebody without even knowing who they are.
Molly, it's really interesting hearing your story and you being so open and honest about that part in your life where people walked away from you. And I understand that as well from my own experience. I always had low vision, but when my sight got worse, the same thing happened. I had friends who I thought were close who walked away, who weren't there. And it was about finding the community that I could be part of again. And I found social media was a great way to connect with people. I mean, you took it further, obviously, with what you're doing, but it was about finding your foot on the ladder again, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And it really helped me rebuild my confidence. My confidence was really broken down by these bullies. But finding this kind of safe space on the internet, it really helped me rebuild my confidence. It helped me kind of find a new sense of self. And it was funny because, within a couple years, all of a sudden, girls at school would be asking me, oh my gosh, where did you get that top? I love your lipstick. Can you give me makeup advice? And I would be like, funny how all these sighted girls are coming to the blind girl at school to ask for fashion and makeup advice. And it helped me connect with people again.
Timothy writes us a question here from Los Angeles near you, and it hits close to home to me because I'm a parent of a daughter who's 9 years old and a son who's 11. So the question is,
hey, this is Timothy. Did your parents put any roadblocks in your way? Because I stop my kids all the time from posting online or joining different social media networks because they're young and I want to limit what they see without my control. Was it the same for you?
So I didn't start creating social media content until I was 20 years old. I started consuming content when I was younger. And I also, I had say a Facebook profile. I think that was my only social media that I had. I had a Facebook profile. I got it when I was about 13, which is the age you're allowed to get it, by at least, social media standards. Most websites tell you 13 and up. So they never really stopped me with having social media or consuming it. And I think at that time too, there wasn't as much known about it, right? Parents weren't as aware of these things as they are now. So no, they never really stopped me. And when I was 20, they just couldn't stop me because I was an adult. And I remember they certainly tried to guide me away from YouTube, which we all joke about now. We think it's very funny. But when I said to them at 20 years old, I want to start, I want to buy a DSLR camera at Best Buy and start filming videos in my room and posting them on the internet, they were very concerned because they had never heard of YouTube really. Or anything they had seen on YouTube was simply like a music video or a funny commercial that goes viral or whatever. And so they didn't really understand. And I was trying to explain to them, I'm like, it's like TV on the internet. Like, it's like I'll have my own TV station. Like, I'm trying to like describe it to them. And they were really concerned at first, as a lot of people would be. And they were like, be careful what you say. Don't embarrass yourself. Don't ruin your career. At the time, I was a motivational speaker. So like, don't ruin your career or embarrass yourself. Or, and they were like, if this goes wrong, it's not on us. We guided you to not do it. But they couldn't stop me, because like, again, I was an adult. And so I was like, got it. I'm gonna do it. And obviously, thank God I did. We're all very grateful and it turned out really well.
But to dig into that a little bit, Molly, I mean, you are legally blind. This would therefore pose challenges, just, buying the DSLR and making those videos. That's going to pose all kinds of challenges that other people clearly wouldn't have had. So I guess my question is, did they seem like obstacles to you at that point?
It did for sure. So at the time I had a boyfriend, a long-term boyfriend, and he was supportive and took me to the Best Buy to buy the camera, helped me like research and bought the camera, and he edited my videos for the first year. And all my parents would do is my mom would walk into the room, focus the camera, hit record, and then leave. That was the extent of the role they played for the first while. And yeah, it was definitely challenging because, some blind people are really, really, really awesome at editing themselves. I'm not that blind person, but I'm the type of person who also encourages like my able-bodied YouTube friends to hire editors, simply because some people edit for a living and they're really good at it. So who am I to think that even if I was able-bodied, I'd be able to edit as well as somebody who's a professional? So to me, my perspective is let the professionals do what they do. And so I always encourage my able-bodied friends to hire editors, not just my disabled friends. So some blind people edit their own content. I don't, never have, not my thing. It never interested me. And I just know I probably wouldn't be as good as I want my videos to be. And that's the reality, is I have a lot of visual effects that I want my videos to have, because I want my videos to be fully enjoyable for blind people, but I also want sighted people to fully enjoy them. And that means sighted people tend to enjoy a little bit more visual stimulation than just me sitting there with a talking head. And so I just knew that the aesthetic I ultimately wanted my videos to have, I wouldn't ever be able to create myself, or at least not without a ton of time and energy and training. And so he edited, and my mom would just hit record, and that was how we did it. And my boyfriend and I broke up a year into my channel, and I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do now? And that's when I had to like try to hire an editor for the first time that I actually had to pay, and I wasn't making any money on YouTube yet, so that threw a wrench into things. But as time went by, of course, my parents started to see the value, and my mom started getting more involved. My mom always worked full-time with me on my motivational speaking business. And so as the YouTube part became more of a business, she also joined in and helped on that.
That's an incredible skill to have, especially at that age. The ability to recognize that other people have a skill, and that you want to focus on your content and let other people do what they do best. And not a lot of people realize that. A lot of people micromanage. And earlier on, and I talk about this all the time, and I'm the same as you, I always tell people, you can't do everything. Find someone who does it well and let them help you. You have to let people help, because if you lean that trust on someone else, everybody will win at the same time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's not about me being disabled and not being able to do it. It's about me just being human, and other humans are better at this stuff. And I think, you can feel the pressure to do it all yourself, especially in an industry where historically a lot of people did. But what I think a lot of people don't realize now is most of us don't. Most full-time creators have large teams. I mean large teams. They have management, they have lawyers, they have stylists, they have editors, they have Photoshop experts. Like, people have large teams helping them, so you don't have to feel the pressure to do it all yourself, because most people who are doing it well don't do it all themselves anymore. This isn't YouTube of 10 years past. YouTube 2021 is a very fierce competition. It's a fierce game. There is so many people creating now. And so quality, you really need to produce quality content more than you did in the past. And that doesn't mean you need the best equipment. Like, that's not to say that you can't start out doing it on your own. But don't feel the pressure that, like, oh, I'm not a real content creator unless I do it all on my own. Because most creators don't anymore. And in terms of equipment, I think a lot of people tell themselves, oh, I can't do it because I don't have this fancy setup. I literally still film on a smartphone in front of a window. So yeah, I have the box lights that I'll set up on a great day, but for the most part, I try to film in front of a natural daylight window on just a pretty new smartphone, and that's good enough for us.
Yeah, totally. Bianca sent in this next question, which is,
Hey, this is Bianca from Franklin, and I wanted to know, what's your favorite platform today? And do you have time to explore the new ones? There's so much out there, so I just would love to hear what you guys like to do.
That's a great question. I would say my current favorite platform is TikTok. I really love TikTok. It's definitely where I'm consuming a lot of my content. I just scroll that For You page for hours. I'm also just really proud of the blind community on TikTok. There's just such a big community on TikTok of blind creators. So I love seeing that. And every time I find one, I'm like, follow, follow, follow. So that's been my favorite platform right now. Of course, YouTube will always be the special place in my heart because it's where I've found the most success. And it's given me so many opportunities. And it's also where I fell in love with social media as a consumer. So YouTube will always be my homegirl, but TikTok is my side chick right now. I really like TikTok.
I've got a good question for you from Kristen, which is, and this is going to make you think back a bit. What was your first ever video?
You know what? My first ever video was the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. And the reason that is because it was going around Facebook. That's where it was really popping off. And I knew I wanted to start a YouTube channel. And the thing with starting a channel is you just need to start. But you're always going to give yourself all the reasons why you can't start. You'll do it next month. You don't have the right setup yet. And you don't have the time, XYZ. You'll just come up with all the reasons. And so I knew I just needed to start. And sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear my cat. She's making a real fuss. My mom's
That's okay. She can join the show. It's all good. We miss that animal element to the show sometimes.
My mom's escorting her out of the room. She's like, I'm the real star you want to talk to. Anyways, yeah, you find all these reasons. And so I knew when I wanted to start, I just needed to start. And my boyfriend at the time, his college roommate tagged me to do the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge next. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to upload it to my YouTube channel. So I just post, because once I post, I have to keep posting. And so that's what I did.
It's so funny. I was kind of laughing while you were talking there, Molly, because I've been thinking about starting, a YouTube channel as well. And I'm thinking, well, when will I do it? And I've been playing the same game of, well, maybe wait till next month because, that month is better and maybe we should hang on. And you're right. It's just a case of just get on with it. Just do it. Pick a platform, try making content and just get on with it. But I am really interested in your thoughts on TikTok and all these other platforms like Instagram as well, because they are very visual mediums. And I am quite surprised hearing you and others who are blind on there, because I have kept away from them because of that visual nature. But you think, no, it is something that's beneficial to us as well.
Absolutely. TikTok can be certainly very visual when you know, the dance videos and things like that, but I just kind of scroll on past those. If in the first like 3 seconds there's no talking, I'm like, okay, not gonna watch this. And so you end up catering your feed, right? These algorithms are very smart. They end up figuring out what you're enjoying and what you're not, and what to show you, especially once you start following. You know, you start to show them, okay, I want this content, and they'll show you more of that. And so really my feed is like a lot of talking. Just a lot of people like sitting and talking. There's not much visuals to it. And that's, like I say with my videos, I like them to be equally as enjoyable for blind people as sighted people. And for most of my videos, I'm just sitting and talking. And so there's nothing much more I need to do for blind people. But for sighted people, I then like to add some of the more visual pop-ups and visual elements. And so, you know, when you find just the content of pure talking heads, it's just simply as enjoyable as it is for sighted people.
You're watching a very special edition of Double Tap TV, a Town Hall edition, with our guest Molly Burke. We're going to take a quick break and come back and see if we can get Molly's cat on the show and more of your questions after we take a break. Stick around.
For more great Double Tap TV content, visit AMI.CA/DoubleTap. This is Double Tap TV.
We are back on Double Tap TV, a Town Hall edition of Double Tap TV. If you've been joining us and you know we are in conversation with Molly Burke, content creator extraordinaire. Molly, you know, you talk about motivational speaking. How did that start? How did you get into motivational speaking?
Now that's probably maybe even a way more interesting story than YouTube. I started public speaking at 5, so I got into it real early. And basically, when I was diagnosed with RP, my parents asked the doctors, like, we need a really positive role model. We just want somebody we can look up to. We don't want to hear the sad stuff. We don't want to hear the negative stuff. We just want something positive to look to. And so they were put in touch with the Foundation Fighting Blindness, and they ended up needing, you know, somebody to do a little speech at one of their fundraisers. And I was a very precocious kid, and so my parents were like, yeah, she'll do it. And the moment that mic was in my hand and I was on that stage, there was no pulling me off. I begged from 5 years old on to be put into acting classes. I told my parents when I was 5 I was going to move to Los Angeles and be a superstar. I wanted to be an actress, so I took 10 years of acting and stage performance. I continued to public speak to raise awareness all throughout my childhood for blindness. And then after dealing with my bullying, I started speaking out a lot about bullying and mental health. And then by 18 years old, I ended up getting scouted to tour with a really large company. And I graduated high school 6 months earlier than I was supposed to, so I could start touring full time. And so for 2 years, from 18 to 20, I toured all over North America and into Europe with like celebrities and very famous political figures and activists like Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and Richard Branson, Malala, Demi Lovato, Macklemore, the list goes on, and I toured full time with them. And after 2 years, I chose to quit and start my own speaking business, and that's when I decided, well, I'm gonna have a lot more free time on my hands now that I'm not traveling constantly, so I want another creative outlet, and that creative outlet that I chose was YouTube.
That's amazing. Robert writes in from Verdun saying, Molly, do you still enjoy what you're doing, or has it turned into a job, like a grind, or does it feel that way sometimes?
Definitely both. You know, I love what I do. If I didn't love what I do, I couldn't do it at the level I'm doing it. That's for damn sure, because you get a lot of hate, you get a lot of negativity, you get a lot of really extraordinarily, unbelievably unrealistic tight deadlines. You know, there's some real grind, there's some real challenges. I mean, simply creating a TikTok a day, an Instagram a day, an IGTV a week, 2 YouTube videos a week, 2 Facebook cut downs a week, Instagram stories daily, like just surely that, like purely that amount of content is a lot of work, a lot more work than people think, especially when you start working with brands. You're scripting out content for them, you're taking their idea and you're figuring out, okay, how can I make that into a TikTok, an IGTV, a 1-minute Instagram video, 2 stories, and a 30-second integration into YouTube. And you have to like formulate all that out, and so there's a lot more that goes into it once it's your real job. And if I didn't love it, I don't think I would be able to put myself up for the tight timelines and the, honestly, just like the speculation from society, public scrutiny.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, that is incredible, the amount of work you must do to make all that happen. And I know you have people working with you as well, so you're not doing it all on your own. But even so, it's a huge amount of work. I wonder, for people who are starting out, and even for people who are in, say, the world of YouTube, and that's what they do, and that's what they've chosen to choose as their channel for their content, is that enough to be popular, to be well known, to even to make money? Or really, do you have to be spread across all these different social networks?
You will be more successful if you're spread across more social platforms. Generally, most brands, not all brands, most brands want a combination of each platform for content. So a lot of my deals will be like 2 Instagram posts and a YouTube video, a TikTok, an IGTV, and a tweet. Like, it'll usually be some formulation of a combination of all platforms. You definitely do still get opportunities that are just like YouTube focused or just TikTok focused, but I would say a lot of brands want it to be across platforms. That said, you certainly don't need to have a ton of followers to make a living. AdSense revenue is the lowest form of income for most content creators. It really is the brand work. And the way you get brand work isn't by necessarily having the highest views or having the most followers. It's by creating quality content that's meaningful and that's brand friendly. That means no swearing, no nudity, not talking about things like sex and drugs, just overall like creating clean content. And for me, even though my following is generally 18 to 34, I know that people watch my videos with their kids. I know that 11-year-olds watch my videos sometimes. And for me, sure, my audience is mostly adult, and I'm an adult, but I don't believe swearing adds value to my content, so I don't do it. And by making that choice early on in my career from the very beginning, to just choose to make clean content simply because I want it to be a safe space for everybody, it's actually ended up being very beneficial because it has meant that my content is brand friendly, which means not only am I going to get more ads on my videos, but it also means I'm going to have more opportunities to work with brands through sponsorships.
So smart. Angela sends in this question.
Hi, this is Angela from Toronto. My question is, how do you react when a video or post doesn't get much traction as you might have expected? Thank you.
You know, that's a great question, and we talk about this a lot in the industry. The numbers are so toxic, and so we talk a lot about how to cope with that. And people are always shocked in the industry when I say this, but I don't look at my numbers. I don't look at the views on videos. I don't look at the likes on an Instagram post, because if I did, I fear that would drive my content decisions. And I don't want the numbers of likes or thumbs up or views to dictate what content I choose to create. I want to make content because I believe it's important, and if that gets views or it doesn't, that's not what matters. What matters is that I believed it was important, so I put it out for the world, and the people who are meant to see that and who it'll be important to will see it. And sometimes that means it's going to be 20,000 people, and sometimes that means it's going to be 2 million people. But I can't concern myself with those numbers.
You know, Molly, off the top of the show, I mentioned some questions I get often, but I think you're better suited to answer them. And one of the biggest questions is YouTube still relevant today? Is that something that you'd recommend people pursue, or do you find that it's too saturated? I
think YouTube is definitely still relevant. That said, I think there's ways that you can be a full-time content creator and make an income without being a YouTuber, whereas that really, really wasn't so much the case a number of years ago. I will say YouTube is still where you'll make the most money, but you can still make a living. just doing other platforms like TikTok. I would say TikTok is, if you're gonna start, TikTok is a really, really good place to start.
Molly, I know you got a time crunch, so we got one last question for you before you go, and it's been so great to have you on. Stephanie writes in, where do you want to be in 10 years from now, Molly?
In 10 years, I just want to still be able to do what I love and be happy. And that's going to evolve, that's going to change, but I want to be happy and I want to be doing what I love. And that's all I know right now. And I really just try to take things day by day, hour by hour, live in the moment as much as I can. And so I don't really know where I'm going to be in 10 years, and that's part of the fun.
Well, we will follow you wherever you will go. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us, and we hope to have you back on another edition of Double Tap TV. Maybe not even a town hall.
Yeah, no, please do. This was a really great conversation, and I'd love to do it again. You guys make great stuff. I've learned a lot from you also. Love the name Double Tap. Think it's very punny and cute. Well done.
Thank you. That is Molly Burke. You guys stick around. We're going to be back to wrap up the show in just a moment.
This is Double Tap TV Town Hall. This is Double Tap TV Town Hall.
Thank you guys so much for being here on another Double Tap TV Town Hall. I am Mark AFLALO, alongside me, Stephen Scott. Stephen, I don't, there's so many questions we didn't even get to for Molly. We just scraped the surface, so we definitely have to have her back on. But talk about a head on the shoulders, man. She comes off as such an intelligent person, so well spoken. I can only imagine her public speaking engagements. It just blows my mind.
Well, yeah, and she's an age now where you would expect that, but from 5 years old to be able to get up on a stage and speak and talk eloquently about her life and who she is, and then to be able to formulate all these ideas around who she wanted to be. I was particularly struck by that comment regarding bringing other people in. So, it's not that I can't edit videos, but I'm never going to edit them as well as someone else, so why put myself through it? I just think that's a great idea. It's my excuse for never editing another video again here on Double Tap TV.
Thanks, great.
But no, I mean, honestly, just to have that knowledge and that level of understanding of yourself at such a young age is incredible.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, I mean,
that's exactly it at that age. And you know what? To share her story, a lot of people would have experiences like that. I mean, going blind is not something that people joke about. An experience like that where your friends just walk away, I mean, it crushes your heart, and to be able to take that.
The same thing happened to me. I had exactly the same thing. Friends who were close friends, who really, close friends who I known for years. When my sight got worse, when they saw me with the dark glasses and the white cane, they walked away. And it hurts. But, it was really interesting to hear Molly talk about it. And I think it's important that people talk about it because it happens. And it's important that, other blind people hear that so they understand they're not alone.
What does it take to get through something like that? What does it take to get past that, I mean, it's heart crushing, right? Your friends walk away, people who you think that are your friends, you really find out who the real friends are. But how do you even get past that? Because there is that light at the end of the tunnel when you do get past it, but to push yourself over that hill, that can't be easy.
No, it's not. I don't know what the right answer is. I think it's about for me, it was about trying to engage with the blind community. Something I had never done through my life. I mean, up until probably 21, 22, I never engaged with the blind community. I didn't see myself as low vision or blind, or, would never put myself in that category. And when my sight fell beyond that point where I wasn't as independent and I had to use the white cane, I was forced into using it. I mean, I probably should have been using it before, but that's beside the point. You end up in a situation where you feel maybe it's time to engage. Embrace the dark side is a phrase I used a lot, which sounds a bit flippant, but it's not. Actually embrace the reality that you are visually impaired. Other people out there are too. Don't see them as other people. I mean, it all sounds crazy coming from someone with low vision that I would think that way. But if you're at that balance point of your vision being decent enough to get around and do what you need to do and work and all those things, and then be in a position where you can't do any of those things, or you feel that you're losing grip of your own life, it's important to have people around you who've gone through the same experience. Otherwise, you can't get through it. And that's what led me to Sean Priest, for example, who's on the radio show with me. we met through a very simple conversation about neither of us wanting to use our white canes, and we both just clicked in that moment, and we've been friends ever since. Other people have walked away, and although it was sad at the time, and I was sad about it at the time, I've gotten over it, and I've realized that their issue was with me and not the other way around. And I can't change that. I'm not prepared to change that. I can't do anything more than be who I am. I try to be a decent person to people. I try to be honest to people. I try to be nice to people. And if that isn't good enough for people, then that's their problem. And I think for me, it's about, this is who I am. This is what I am. And you need to accept it. I don't need to accept anything. I'm still accepting this every day. I've got enough accepting to do. It's your turn. So that's how I tend to do it.
A lot of people asked us, they said, why are you doing a town hall show on influencer culture and content creators? And I'm kind of scared to use the word influencer now, because Molly said that it was kind of a bad word, so I'm not going to use it anymore. But people ask why how does that make sense with tech? And I think if you think about the world of tech, and there is this gray line that you have to cross, and realize that these online communities, YouTube, TikTok, Clubhouse, this is all based on technology, Without tech in our life, these platforms wouldn't exist, and these people wouldn't have these platforms, and we wouldn't be at a state where we are today. My biggest takeaway from that conversation with Molly is that, number one, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Number two is that you don't need to go out and spend $10,000. You don't need the best camera in the world. You need a phone. We all have it in our pocket. We all have the tools at which to create content. The question is, how does your content stand out amongst everybody else's? And how do you then put a value on it? I think that's...
Do you know what's interesting?
Exactly.
I'm listening to Molly speak through a $4 earpiece. In my ear. I'm not seeing anything in front of me here, because all I have in front of me is the camera. So I'm listening to Molly speak, and I'm listening to this amazing story, and it's all through a $4 earpiece. And you know what? I was engaged. I was hooked. It says a lot, doesn't it? That it's about the content. The content is king. It doesn't matter if you've got a £50,000 camera in front of me. It doesn't matter. If what I'm saying isn't interesting, it doesn't matter. It's not interesting.
Well, I hope you're enjoying this content that we're creating for you in terms of this DoubleTap TV town hall. I hope you've enjoyed the other town halls that we've done. And thank you guys so much for not only supporting DoubleTap TV, but all the people that we have here on DoubleTap TV, because we love telling their stories. Thank you to Molly Burke for joining us. If you want to follow her, just search for Molly Burke. You'll find her absolutely everywhere online. On behalf of Stephen Scott, I am Mark AFLALO. Thank you guys for joining us in this special edition of DoubleTap TV.
Hosted by Mark AFLALO and Stephen Scott. Executive producer Mark AFLALO. Guests Molly Burke. Editing Jordan Steves and Mark AFLALO. Motion graphics Will ATTAR. Voiceover Anna Vicino. Production assistants Wendy KAUFMAN and Zachary AFLALO. Integrated described video specialist Ron Rickford. Coordinating producer Jennifer Johnson. Director Production Kara Nye. Director Programming Brian Perdue. VP Content Development and Programming John Melville. President and CEO David Arrington. Prizing provided by Belkin and Benjilock. Copyright 2021 Accessible Media Inc.